Hello class and welcome to week 4. Before I tell you an interesting story that happened last year in my own accounting world, I wanted to first say I appreciated the conversations about fraud from the chief accounting officer. Kind of a differing of opinions by a lot of you. I do think a lot of you lended towards jail time, which is an interesting idea. I also wanted to point out that these posts should not have quoting in them. The goal of these posts is for you guys to read information, synthesize it, meaning basically absorb it into your own words, and then type it out. So please try to abstain from quoting or referencing text. Regarding the answers of discussion last week, putting someone in jail for accounting errors or fraud is an interesting idea. The reason being is the accounting code is quite complex. So I think it's rather difficult to truly point that someone intentionally did something wrong. The difference between intentionally doing something wrong and being lazy is pretty broad. I would say that generally if the losses to a company are in excess of $1 million, I think a CPA license should be lost by that individual and they should probably lose that license for the rest of their career. Secondly, I think before jail, probably the best idea would be for that individual by default to have to turn in any type of stock benefits they received. So example, if I worked for, say, Twitter and I received a whole lot of stock options during my time there, if I end up being convicted of accounting fraud or accounting wrongdoings, I should have to turn all my shares back over, I think, to the damaged party pool. I think that in itself, over jail, would more incentivize executives to focus. With that behind us, the topic today is, can accounting really be worth $1 billion? Last year I had a interesting situation. The firm I run, we invest in a lot of different portfolio companies, and one of the portfolio companies was a large company, and from the outside definitely had good books and records, but it wasn't quite fully GAAP compliant, and it decided to go through a process of getting ready to go public. Going public for a company is quite difficult. You basically have to go back and redo all your accounting books and records for the last couple of years to make sure they are exactly the same way that all publicly traded companies do their books and records. This involves finding more support. This involves hiring legal teams to interpret and read contracts. It's an expansive process. It normally takes almost a year to do with a cost of between $2 and $5 million. The company did all this work, and before they started the work, they had an offer to be purchased by an outside company for around $1.5 billion. They had turned that down. They went through all the work. They decided they were going to go public. Unfortunately, in 2022, the public markets were closed, meaning investors weren't looking for new companies to list on the stock exchange. At that point, the whole team was a little upset, a little disappointed. They had just kind of worked a ton, spent a couple $1 million to get themselves IPO ready on the accounting side, and more or less thought it was just kind of lost costs. In December, a publicly traded company came along, and because we had put all this work into the accounting department and we had the books and records perfect, and basically, you could flip a switch and that company was ready to be listed on the stock exchange. That public company bought 30% of our portfolio company, and instead of the $1.5 billion valuation that we were offered about a year ago, that company paid $2.7 billion as well. The main difference were two. One, yes, there had been some increase in product sales, but two, it was really because our company was in such a good shape that public company wasn't going to have to waste any time and effort to start combining the two entities. So my answer to you is, accounting, yeah, it's often the boring class. It's often the department at the company that doesn't get talked about too much. But in this scenario, I truly believe the accounting department added almost $1 billion of value to the company. So you guys keep learning, keep working hard, and let's all try to find a company that we can find and add $1 billion to. Thanks.